fun. Some love is just a lie of the heart. The core remains of what began with a passionate start. And they may not want it to end, but it will. It's just a question of when. I've lived long enough to have learned. The closer you get to the fire, the more you get burned. But that won't happen to us, 'cause it's always been a matter of trust.
Podcast. This date of October 18th, the year 2015. As you can imagine, a majority of my following this week was on the Democratic debates with Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton and some dude, what's his name, Jack Webb, I think, he used to be on Dragnet, and Mr. O'Malley, an Irishman whom reminded me mostly of the drunk uncle you would never invite to your Thanksgiving dinner, and another gentleman whom was a governor of some state. That the point being here is the debate between Hillary and Bernie began with some side talk and chatter and a Joe-less podium. Happily for me to say that. Nothing against Joe Biden, but he's just not presidential material. And that's the thing discussed mostly by CNN after the debates. Interesting enough was the candidates who came off as most presidential. I don't recall that discussion being made after the first Republican debate, where I absolutely saw no one being presidential. But I guess it's important to CNN that Democrats show someone presidential.
Charlie, it was you. You remember that night in the garden? You came down my dressing room and said, "Kid, this ain't your night. We're going for the price on Wilson." You remember that? This ain't your night. My night. I could have taken Wilson apart. So what happens? He gets the title shot outdoors in a ballpark, and what do I get? A one-way ticket to Palookaville. You was my brother, Charlie. You should have looked out for me a little bit. You should have taken care of me just a little bit so I wouldn't have to take them dives for the short-end money.
Well, I had some bets down for you. You saw some money.
You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody. Instead of a bum, which is what I am. Let's face it. It was you, Charlie.
So I had to gloss over quickly here. We have a lot of things to cover in a very short period of time. I'm just going to go over the highlights as I put my glasses on here of the debate. I have the transcript in front of me of some of the what I would call the nuggets from the debate, important questions and answers where I think the candidates definitely distinguished themselves. Now, as I said, most of these are going to be Sanders and Clinton. Maybe some exceptions, but very rarely. In the opening statements, Sanders making it very clear his distaste toward the current political process when he says millionaires and billionaires are pouring unbelievable sums of money into the political process in order to fund super PACs and to elect candidates who represent their interest and not the interest of the working people. Today, the scientific community is virtually unanimous. Climate change is real, it's caused by human activity, and we have a moral responsibility to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy and leave this planet a habitable place, a planet for our children and our grandchildren. A very quick and easy do follow opening statement from Bernie, and interestingly enough, sure enough, after this debate and a few days later, there was some speculation from shadow networks that the statement of him not being supported by super PACs was a lie. And again, I'll just give you the obvious common sense answer to that. If it is a lie, exactly what super PAC would be pouring money into Bernie Sanders' campaign. I'd love to hear which wonderful amount of wealthy people pursuing him as a candidate. Again, if you listen to half the crap, or read half the crap on the internet and believe it's true, perhaps you don't belong in the political arena and should not be voting next November. Clinton's open statement was, yes, of course, raise the minimum wage. But we have to do so much more. A nice way to filter through. I'm not going to tell you how I'm going to raise the minimum wage or what I'm going to raise it to. We have to do so much more anyway, including finding ways that companies share profits with the workers who help them make them. And then we have to figure out how we're going to make the tax system a fairer one. Bernie has some great ideas and actually mentions it throughout this debate. Hillary, of course, is vague, very vague. Just like the sketcher for the O.J. Simpson trial. The O.J. Simpson, the police were trying to find the actual murderer, and she's the one who sketched out what he looked like. Very vague indeed. So I have specific recommendations about how we're going to close those loopholes, making clear that the wealthy will have to pay their fair share, and have a series of tax cuts for the middle-class families. I just, like I said, it's vague, and you'll see throughout this debate. If you listen to the debate, you'll notice how vague Hillary is, and how Bernie actually puts some ideas on the table, which is an interesting concept, considering that usually in the first debates, you're just trying to, everybody's just out there showing their vision and what they want to see happen, and it's kind of like the Miss America pageant, where if every single person, every single female on the stage said, "I want world peace," well, then who won the pageant? In that regard, you'd have to say, well, I guess the best looking one.
Would you be willing to show your naked rear end in a movie?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
This is my special moment. Don't question me or disagree. I know that I have earned this. Damn it, I deserve this. Do not fuck with me. It's my special time. And I'll seize this opportunity to show them what it means to me to be king shit just for a minute, then just disappear. And with passion and no talent, self-righteously and gallantly, I'll step away and everyone will know it. This is my special moment. Has led me to this perfect minute. Remember how I did this, taking care of business for one. They'll see me get it right, kicking, screaming, fighting for my life. I have decided it is time. This is my special moment. Don't question me or disagree. I know that I have earned this. Damn it, I deserve this. Do not fuck with me. It's my special time. Oh God, I'm doing it for real. I'm really doing it. Reaching for the skies and gouging out the eyes of anyone who dares to interfere, conquering the fear and showing that the time is mine. This is my special moment. Don't question me or disagree. I know that I have earned this. Damn it, I deserve this. Do not fuck with me. It's my special time. Do not fuck with me. It's my special time. Do not fuck with me. It's my special time. Safe to dance. Oh, it's safe to dance. Yes, it's safe to dance.
Which I guess wouldn't bode very well for Bernie. But anyway. Anderson Cooper CNN, going right after the jugular, by the way, of Secretary Clinton, from the very beginning of this. I want to start with you. He said plenty of politicians involved on issues, but even some Democrats believe you change your position based on political expediency. You were against same-sex marriage, now you're for it. You defended President Obama's immigration policies, now you say they're too harsh. You supported his trade deal dozens of times, you even called it the gold standard, now suddenly last week you are against it. Will you say anything to get elected? That's a pretty strong message right there. And you're thinking for a second, CNN is getting tough on the issues. Well, basically, they're really actually they understand the positions of the candidates, and and basically he was really actually throwing Senator Clinton the bone to start off the whole thing, and she dropped the bone. She really did. She had an opportunity here and dropped it. As far as I'm concerned, she did. When she said, well, actually, I've been very consistent over the course of my entire life. I have always fought for the same values and principles, but like most human beings, including those who run for office, I do absorb new information. I do look at what's happening in the world. Take the trade deal. I did say when I was Secretary of State 3 years ago that I hoped it would be the gold standard. It was just finally negotiated last week, and in looking at it, it didn't meet my standards. My standards for new good jobs for Americans, for raising wages for Americans, and I want to make sure that I can look into the eyes of any middle-class American and say, this will help raise your wages, and I concluded I could not. Secretary Clinton, though, with all due respect, the question is really about political expediency. As Anderson Cooper weighs it back in, the old tap dance, the old Clinton tap dance, isn't going to fly here. You dodged the question about the other issues, which were same-sex marriage and the immigration policies. So he goes in and says, just in July, New Hampshire, you told the crowd, you quote, take a back seat to no one when it comes to progressive values. Last month in Ohio, you said you pled guilty to the, quote, being kind of moderate and center. Do you change your political identity based on who you're talking to? And she came back and said, no, I think that, like most people that I know, I have a range of views, but they are rooted in my values and experiences, and I don't have to take a back seat to anyone when it comes to progressive experience and progressive commitment. And again, there's an opportunity for Mr. Cooper to come back again and say, you still haven't explained your change in position in same-sex marriage and immigration. But it's CNN, so he did not. As far as Sanders jumps in here, well, we're going to win first. The question was Sanders is put forth, explains if it's a socialist. And he said, we're going to win first because we're going to explain what democratic socialism is. And he goes on to explain that it's a moral wrong, but the top 1/10 of 1% in this country own almost 90%. Own almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. That is wrong. Today, in a rigged economy, that 57% of all new income is going into the top 1%. And in the next example, Denmark, and Norway, and Sweden. And it gets great applause for this, by the way. But Cooper comes back with Denmark is a country that has a population. Denmark is a country that has a population of 5.6 million people. The question is really about electability here, and that's what I'm trying to get at. You, the Republican attack, ad against you in a general election, it writes itself. You supported the Sandinistans in Nicaragua. You honeymooned in the Soviet Union, and just this weekend you said you're not a capitalist. Doesn't that ad write itself? And Sanders comes back, well, first of all, let's look at the facts. The facts are very simple. Republicans win when there's a lot of low voter turnout. It's very true. It makes a very true statement there. We all know. 63% of American people didn't vote. Anderson, 8% in the last. Let's talk about the election with the Congress, where the Democrats lost the Senate. 80% of young people didn't vote. We're bringing out huge turnouts and great excitement all over this country. Democrats in the White House on down will win. And when there's excitement, a large voter turnout, and that's what this campaign is doing. And we'll go back to this. Do you consider yourself a capitalist? Though I consider myself part of the casino capitalist process by which so few have so much and so many have so little, by which Wall Street greed and recklessness wreck this economy. No, I don't. I believe in a society where all people do well, not just a handful of billionaires. And that got applause.